Nothing too bad. A custom catcher on Corey's side. One of the 2 tag calls, actually.
Yeah, no, that's pretty crucial for Andrew. So to go with going first, he is going to have to combat his prize cards. So maybe that will start to even it out here for our players. We see the handshake. We are underway.
All right, and Corey actually opting to start with the Absol and having that Arceus Dogapalkia on the bench, trying to keep it safe for maybe a turn or 2. Meanwhile, Zacian V is the starter of choice for Andrew. Not a bad starter. You always want to get it in play turn 1. It's your best draw power. And if you hit Metal Energies off the top of your deck, that's just golden.
Yeah, this is... honestly, this is pretty much where you want to be. As long as you get that energy attachment onto your Arceus Dialga and Palkia to start the game and you use Intrepid Sword, I feel like you've done everything that you were supposed to do on your first turn as an ADP player.
Yeah, discarding the Cryogonal, tech that we haven't really seen too much. We have seen it kind of pop up here and there in Arceus Palkia decks in previous tournaments to try to combat some more stall decks.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that's really good against those Crushing Hammer styles of decks, maybe cards that really they like to abuse their item cards to disrupt their opponent. But we don't see that style of deck too often anymore. That was more the Oranguru Pidgeotto style of deck. Now instead we see this aggressive milling style with Belubble and Bryson Man. So Cryogonal has been a card that's not nearly as impactful as it used to be in prior sets.
And here's a pretty big card in the matchup too in Big Charm. Just being able to add 30 HP to anyone that it's attached to. That means 310 HP for that Arceus Dogapalkia.
Yeah, it looks like the Vitality Band also on the Zacian. So these 2 tools have been placed in the perfect spot for Andrew. We'll be able to hit some pretty good numbers for himself, honestly. And just knowing that his Arceus Dialga and Palkia is going to be relatively safe at 310 hit points has to be a great feeling.
Yeah, and after a Dead change from Andrew, opts for Aurora Energy on the Arceus Dogapalkia, and then Intrepid Sword hits 1 energy. Not bad. Not bad. So a pretty good turn 1 here from Andrew.
Yeah, it looks like Andrew actually drew into the Metal Frying Pan, which is a card that we haven't seen always included in the Arceus Dialga and Palkia build, but it is a pretty cool inclusion.
Yeah, being able to reduce 30 damage from your opponent's attacks as well as get rid of your Metal Pokemon's weakness. Pretty big in a format where you have stuff like Magcargo GX and Reshiram and Charizard.
Yep, so maybe not the matchup he's looking for it, but hey, sometimes it'll just provide that little bit of health buffer that you needed.
And there we see a quick ball from Corey himself. Opts to get a Jirachi. It's one of the cards that kind of benefits you when you have an Absol in play. You kind of shut off your opponent's Jirachis for a little bit.
Well, this Jirachi needs to be impactful here. I don't think we saw a supporter over on Corey's side. I don't know if he found... Oh, looks like he did. He found one of the best ones in that Professor Research.
Professor Research being able to grab off the top with that Stellar Wish ability from Jirachi, bailing his hand out here.
Yeah, he does have a few energy cards in there, so we're going to have to see what he chooses to go with. I think he's going to be playing that Aurora energy, discarding one of those metals, and then go ahead and just draw as many cards as possible.
Oh, has that Zacian V as well, and Metal Energy in the discard's not too bad when you have a card like Metal Saucer in your deck.
Yeah, if he was able to find one of those, he could put himself in a pretty great spot. Imagine if he even had the Energy Switch or something wild to go along with it, but I think both these builds actually aren't using the Energy Switch style.
So it's actually very different. Corey is opting for the no energy switch, but Andrew is playing 3 copies of it.
All right, Andrew's my boy then.
Oh, but here is a big Intrepid Sword from Corey. Nets 2 Metal Energy here and a pass of the turn. Both players getting a pretty good turn 1.
Yeah, no, this is actually pretty impressive from both players, and it looks like Andrew is able to find that energy that he needs in order to set up for ADP's GX attack, which will provide him that 30 extra damage and extra prize cards. Just going to be looking for a switching effect here in order to get into the active spot.
All right, well, Quick Ball will net Andrew a basic Pokemon from his deck.
Yeah, it looks like he's eyeing up Absol, so maybe he can return the favor to this Jirachi.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the best, like, because you want your opponent to, or you don't want your opponent to retreat and then GX attack. It's kind of another stopgap.
Yeah, if you just make them have one more answer, then maybe that's what you need to buy that one turn.
We see a Pokemon catcher in Andrew's hand as well.
Yeah, that'd be a great way to place some of the damage on Arceus Dialga and Palkia if you could.
Oh, and there it goes. But you do run the risk of, if you bring up the Arceus Dialga Palkia, you don't want to give your opponent that free retreat to attack with Altered Creation.
That's true. So it looks like he's going to go with this route of taking the Absol, buying himself that extra turn. I'm thinking a little bit ahead of myself, actually, as you don't want to. I'm thinking about attacking already instead. Yeah. No, this is a great turn to bring up the Absol because you want to buy that one turn to use your GX attack. If we were on turn 3, that would have been a different story.
It also means that Stellar Wish isn't easy out for Corey as well. Could find something like a switch for himself.
Yep. We do see that he does have that switch Metal Saucer in hand as well, so can start to charge up that Zacian.
And this is what the Arceus Dialga Palkia deck wants to do. It wants to get this turn 2 Altered Creation GX. Metal Saucer as well coming down for Andrew. Remember, he has 2 of those prized, so he only has 1 left to access until he starts getting some of those prizes.
Yeah, it does look like, fortunately for Andrew, that won't be too impactful. It looks like he could be able to use Arceus Dialga and Palkia as a way to accelerate energy. He could have that 1 extra turn built in just because he has that big charm and he was the first to use his GX attack.
Yeah, so the big differences for these lists are going to be the Pokemon catchers from Andrew's side of the field compared to Corey playing Custom Catcher and Great Catcher.
Sure.
But then you also have the 1 Metal Frying Pan and 3 Energy Switch from Andrew compared to just the regular consistency cards, and quite a few more energy, or less colored energy from Corey. He plays 10 metal.
Interesting. Okay, so that gives him more outs to finding those discarded metals and then using that Metal Saucer.
And here we see Guzma and Hala, one of the best tag team supporters, especially for this archetype, just being able to find energy as well as ways to retreat. Just very simple.
Yep, does find that escape board, so he will be able to move his Absol out of the active spot.
Well, technically, he still needs to attach to it as well.
Sure.
The opposing Absol making its retreat cost 2 instead of 1.
So we'll see if he does have any other effects that can help him out here.
It'll be interesting to see if he actually does have access to Switch in his hand.
Yep.
Yeah, we see it down there at the back. So Altered Creation GX, just like Andrew did. It's exactly what you want to start off, but you're kind of a turn behind now.
Oh, and that energy attachment is really rough, too. The 10 extra damage actually sets up this Arceus Dialga and Palkia to walk right into the Zacian with a Vitality Belt. But it looks like the Lysander Lab will counter that for the time being. We'll have to see if Andrew's able to find an answer around that in order to do some big damage here.
All right, and there we go. Both players now have used Altered Creation GX. Now all of their Pokemon will deal 30 extra damage and take an extra prize card when they get a knockout. It's such a powerful tag team Pokemon.
It is, and it's terrifying when you're the player that has to do it on the following turn. So for Corey, this is probably one of the scariest turns of the game for him, hoping that this turn isn't too impactful. Maybe Andrew isn't able to do too much. Maybe just has to attack with Arceus Dialga and Palkia into his own, and then we could see Corey start to pull away and break from that detriment that he had of going second in this game.
All right, well, the energy attachment to the active signifies that you won't try to go for the big knockout with the Zacian on the bench, and a Professor's Research discards the hand for a fresh 7 cards.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he does find that counter stadium along with Energy Switch, and I do see the Shrine of Punishment, but is that worth it? He would be lining himself up maybe to walk right into another Zacian, a play that he would like to do if maybe he had a switching effect so he could keep some energies, but maybe it is just safer to go ahead and place this damage onto the opponent's ADP.
Yeah, well, you get the second Metal Saucer as well, so he does have the option to... Oh no, he would still need to find a way to switch just because that Absol on the bench is putting in a lot of work.
Yeah, so the way the prizes line up now, we could see Andrew go for the big knockout 4 prize cards on Arceus Dialga and Palkia, and then a Pokemon catcher along with just using Ultimate Ray would knock out one of these regular basic Pokemon that Corey has available for the last 2 prize cards. So the prizes are available to him if he so chooses, but can't fault him if he decides to just go ahead and accelerate energies onto his board and have multiple options too.
Well, he actually didn't have a way to retreat the Arceus Palkia with the 3 retreat.
Oh, and the Absol as well. And
So it means 4.
It gets, yeah, that's a lot to ask, yeah.
So being able to set up some energy here, you also have kind of a little buffer thanks to Big Charm on his own tag team GX. So 310 HP, you kind of have a little wiggle room.
Well, with that Big Charm now, trading 10 damage for having the use of your Big Charm seems like a fair compromise.
Oh no, and I believe he only attached 1 energy off of that Ultimate Ray. Not what you want to see here. I think has too many in hand and discard.
Yeah, just a little bit awkward for him. We also know that the metal saucers that he's looking for are in his prize cards. Corey now, if he does play a second Lysander Lab, we could see some spiciness coming out of him. Be curious to see if he was able to set up something like that for himself, but generally we do see only 1 from these decks.
We actually see the Oranguru from Sword and Shield in Corey's hand, a card that isn't really that played in this archetype, but is still really good nonetheless.
Yeah, it's such a great card that people will just make room for it regardless. Even if you do have some trouble with bench size and whatnot, sometimes just giving that bench slot to drawing a free card and getting rid of something from your hand is good enough.
Also combos really well with the 4 custom catcher that he is playing. And we saw it with the round with Tord. Could be a good attacker too, especially when you take an extra prize.
Certainly could be. And that's we've seen Arceus Palkia play cards like Drampa in the past, just some sort of non-GX Pokemon that can do a little bit of work, and it's cool that you can find that inclusion in a card that also provides extra benefits.
Yeah, he's going deep in the tank here for this game, though. If you choose to attack with the active tag team, that means you're just giving your opponent 4 prizes, and that means just a single knockout of any Pokemon will be able to take the game for Andrew.
Corey, thankfully, is holding on to one of those crucial cards when you're in a setup like this. He has Reset Stamp in hand, so knowing that he's likely going to be giving up 4 prize cards here, he will be able to have a little bit of disruption on the following turn. Also does have plenty of energies, as you were saying. He does play 10 metal energies, so finding them when he does use Ultimate Ray is pretty simple.
Andrew starts his turn by drawing a second energy switch. Not something you really want to see here, but he could opt to maybe hopefully find a switch somehow and then move the energy off of the active Arceus Palkia. But so far, the hand's not looking like it's going to be agreeing too well.
Yep. Does have that metal saucer, so he can get an extra energy on board, and then he does have energy switches, so there's really ugly ways to get out of the active spot if he wants to, but just really depends on if that's what he's thinking is going to be the best route for him.
Yeah, but if he does go for that route, you have to think he's really going to have to hit those metal saucers from the prizes to reset another attacker.
Yeah, it looks like he'd need 1 more if he were to do something like that. But no, feels content now just taking the knockout there on Arceus Palkia. 4 prize cards. Going to look through his deck and just make sure that his counts line up the way he needs. Probably going to be coming down to the Pokemon catchers if he does have that option available to him. But honestly, look what Corey has available to him. What's his answer right now?
Because well, he does have that reset stamp, as you said.
Right, so he's but on waiting for him on the bench, he's got a Zacian that's ready to just knock him out and take us to game 2. So
that is true.
Probably gonna have to find a double custom catcher along with that, and then just hope that Andrew doesn't find an energy for his other Zacian.
We see a metal saucer come down on that Jirachi. Maybe we could see something like a slap. But
well, yeah, unfortunately, Slap would just put him in the same place.
Maybe you just do it. Just because.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to lose anyway. At least I'll get a knockout with Slap.
That's
take
right.
4 prizes.
You got to go down swinging. No, we're looking at the rest of what he has. Corey does have Quick Ball double switch, so maybe if he did double Jirachi, he could find double custom catcher. Looks like the rest of his deck is just the custom catchers and other cards, like the Mew there. I believe he still also has a Oranguru to help him too, so maybe he could sneak that last custom that he wants if he did find one off of Jirachi.
Yeah, definitely on the back foot here, though. And like you said, switch into the Jirachi. We're going to be going digging.
Yep, he could pull one here, and looks like he did. Actually was on the top, so if he used a Ranguru, he would have had it. I don't know if this is the right sequence as well, because if you do have to just dig for the last one with Ranguru, then is that really what benefits you pulling one out early?
But the writing is on the wall here. Andrew setting up his board in a way to just, really just took advantage of being able to get that first GX attack off.
Yeah. Well, so slight sequencing error then from Corey. Just could have played his outs a little better. But of course, seeing the route and knowing that that's what you needed to do is one of the more impressive parts of that anyways. And he was playing to a very slim odd anyways. If his opponent, Andrew, were to find energy switch or an energy off of that reset to 2, then all of this would have been a non-factor anyways.
Yeah.
But good on both players to see what they needed to do there.
Yeah, you have to always play to your outs, especially when these matches mean so much to these players. You really just can't give up on yourself.
Never give up. Believe in yourself. You can do it, kids.
Yeah, both players sitting at 8-2-1. And it's interesting to see. We talked about how Andrew started off at 6-2-1, is on that hot streak, 2-0 today. It'll be interesting to see how Corey's been doing, because sometimes you have the opposite where they start off with like 8 wins and then take a few losses. But no, it looks like
45th seed.
Oh,
And he has been running hot. So he is right there as well. He had the 19 points, and he has been pushing through. So both these players have been on a hot streak, just end up colliding here on our main stage. Going to have to see if Corey can take that first turn advantage that he'll give himself and make something of it. Of course, both players have plenty of time. It's actually almost right at that 1/3 slot to have 3 beautiful games played out for us. So it definitely lining up to be an amazing match.
that is the one advantage of this mirror match, though, where the games really only last 4 turns.
Sure. It just takes a long time to do those 4 turns. So it never feels like 4 turns, but it is. And that's what happens when you're doing extra damage, taking extra prize cards. You get to play a little bit of unfair Pokemon.
Speaking of prize cards here, we see Absol in the prizes for Corey.
Oh, man. Look, double Pokemon catcher over on the other side for Andrew, too. So this is going to be pretty awkward if he wants to find the right Pokemon to knock out to finish a game.
They are towards the bottom, though. So normally players draw their prizes from the bottom. Might have access to them later on.
Oh, we're in Australia, so maybe the pull just takes from the top instead. Who knows how hemispheres work?
The 2 active Pokemon going at it. Jirachi start for Andrew here.
Why are these Pokemon so close to each other? Jirachi is sharing that metal energy right now. And this is not the turn you want for Corey. I can't believe this.
Yeah, again, the first turn, no supporter rule, strikes again. Just a metal energy attachment on the active Dedenne GX and a pass of the turn.
Oh, this is an absolute nightmare. Look at his hand. It looks like he only has the Guzman Hala to bail him out on the following turn, but doesn't play those energy switches, so this attachment's pretty much useless for him, too.
Yet we see the Guzman Hala. He might even have to just use that to discard his hand down so he can draw cards with Custom Catcher.
Yeah, we could see him really just pulling from anywhere and everywhere to get back into this game, but he absolutely threw the opening first turn that he had for himself, and no fault of his own, just his hand didn't want to work for him.
Meanwhile, Andrew probably has the best start you could possibly ask for. Jirachi as your active, the Zacian on the bench, and then a quick ball discarding a metal energy to get that Arceus Palkia.
I believe they call this the Burt. No, we could definitely see one of those really aggressive turns out of Andrew. Once again, blood in the water, just that Dedenne in the active spot. Metal energy in hand. Has the energy switch too, so there's a potential for a turn 1 ultimate ray if he finds the right energy and a switching effect.
Well, so he's going to need a lot. He's going to need a supporter here or a way to get a Dedenne GX.
Well, keep talking because he's finding supporters.
Talk about supporters. I think he found all of his supporters in his top 5.
This is working out pretty great. If he takes his Professor Research potentially, looks like he actually wants to go with the Cynthia and preserve a few of his resources, be a little bit safer here.
Oh, man. Here we go. Aurora Energy discards another metal And then a Cynthia as well. This is looking really good for Andrew here.
Yeah, this is a wise play from Andrew. Instead of taking that research, he's going to use the Cynthia, shuffle back that energy switch that he has, so maybe he can open up a slot where if he does find that metal saucer and the energy switch coming back into his hand and a switching effect, turn 1, GX attack, huge swing.
Yeah, you don't want to force yourself to go all in, discard some extra resources when you don't need to. But, oh,
we see.
Is that double metal saucer? Oh, we're triple metal saucer.
Stop.
Stop.
Boy, stop. Oh, he's got 2. He's got the 2 metals in the discard, but I don't think we see any way to grab a Dedenne to continue to make this turn push, but such an intimidating board right now.
Wow, that is insane to think about. And then you get Intrepid Sword on top of that.
That's just good. No,
no,
metal?
But you got some action for next turn with that Professor's Research. Meanwhile, for Corey, he draws for his turn, but I think it might have been another custom catcher. Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is not what you want to see here from Corey. Right now, he does not have a way to get another Pokemon. Oh, sorry, it was a Zacian that he drew for the turn.
Yeah, Zacian.
That's a big difference.
Certainly helps him out a lot here. He is trying to map this out as best as possible. Maybe going to use that Guzma Hala, burn 2 cards, and then use his custom catchers to continue drawing through.
Yeah, it's a little awkward here. Having to discard a Metal Saucer and a Switch, this could have been like one of the ways to actually try to get an energy on, but you needed another Pokemon to do it.
Yeah, there's no other way to really work this out, so it does awkwardly have to discard those cards for no other real effect.
All right, and does grab the Vitality Band with the Rainbow Energy. Already has the Shrine of Punishment in play, so doesn't really need the Stadium again. He just wants to draw more cards off these custom catchers.
Right, and he only does play that 1 Dedenne, so off the custom catchers, honestly, really can't find that much to do this turn. He's already played a supporter, so it's going to be pretty tough to continue on, but maybe he just buys just enough time, finds himself potentially a Jirachi, could retreat and then use Stellar Wish, and then finish the turn with Intrepid Sword, but contemplating not using them. Going to go ahead and do that. Finds a Skateboard.
Skateboard Professor's Research here, but already played the Guzma and Hala for the turn, so Intrepid Sword will end the turn. No metal energy for Corey there. Jirachi does wake up. Andrew will start his turn. Plenty of cards in hand for him to work with.
Yeah, curious to see how Andrew wants to play the rest of this. Maybe he has a nod knowing that his opponent is not playing those energy switch and knows that Zacian that is on the bench is maybe only one of the only real ways that Corey can continue playing this game. So we could see an aggressive strategy, or we could see him continue to just play ADP the way that we know and the way we love. It looks like that's going to be the route, this nice consistent approach here.
Yeah, well, you also have some options, because if he does find something like Energy Switch here, maybe he goes for the Ultimate Ray to take the knockout on the active Dedenne.
Right.
Thanks to that Shrine of Punishment damage.
Yep. Both Pokemon are in range as far as Ultimate Ray and also using Zacian V to knock out the other Zacian.
And unfortunately, does not want to discard all the resources in his hand. Andrew opts for the Marnie, shuffling both players' hands, and then they put it at the bottom and draw 4 cards for Corey and 5 cards for Andrew.
Well, it looks like the judge did catch just the sliver of where the cards were placed. He missed the deck by 1 card.
All right, there we go. Get it all corrected.
Well, it looks
this
like
is going to be a big 5 cards for Andrew as well.
Yeah, Andrew desperately needs to find himself either a Skateboard or a switching effect. First card we see is that beautiful golden switch.
Another Zacian V hitting the board. And with that switch, this Stellar Wish will be a free roll, just trying to find some action for next turn.
Yeah, could potentially try to limit his opponent or find some more resources to keep pushing.
Even has the energy switch now, so does he go for the Ultimate Ray or just set up with Altered Creation?
Yeah, it looks like he's going to take it, but I am curious to see what his decision is here. It's, of course, very tempting to take those prize cards, but knowing that you are just 2 attacks away from winning the game after using your GX attack is also pretty juicy.
And this is going to be the big moment. And yeah, Altered Creation GX, just tried and true strategy. That means being able to knock out just both of the Pokemon in play, and you'll win the game.
Yeah, I really don't know what's better at this point. He would have 7 energies on the board, 3 Pokemon near ready to attack, and his opponent would have a Zacian. But you did get to flip a really big GX counter at the top of our screen here, so you know, it is tough to call. But I think either way, Andrew has put himself in an amazing spot.
Oh, for sure. Although the Marnie is bailing Corey out, he found a supporter, finally, the Cynthia. Shuffling his hand in to draw 6 cards, but Corey's going to need a lot of help here.
Yeah, Corey, he did have that research, but he was going to lose another custom catcher, and I feel like that would have just about sealed it for him as well, because he's going to need a few things to go his way.
There is 1 energy out of that. I thought there was 0 for a second, but man. We also see a Metal Saucer, but again, I don't think there's any metal energy in the discard here. I don't know if Corey can pull off an attack this turn. Is really debating about benching that Arceus Palkia.
Yeah, this is pretty terrifying for Corey. Maybe if he had a Pokemon that wasn't a GX that he could go ahead and bring up into the active, then the Arceus Palkia wouldn't be the best choice. But it looks like go ahead and absorbing 1 shot here and then just hoping your opponent never hits a Pokemon catcher is probably his best strategy, because he needs things to go his way at this point.
Shrine of Punishment, putting a little bit more damage into play. Action back on Andrew here. Has that Cryogonal in his hand, a non-factor in this matchup.
Don't tell him that. He's ready to attach it. Yeah.
There's the metal energy.
Yeah, I'll show you where this goes.
So now Ultimate Ray is the attack of choice. Just if Andrew finds Pokemon Catcher, he'll really be able to swing this game even further in his advantage. Granted, 2 of them are in the prize cards.
Yeah, it looks like we don't see it off of his hand, but he does find himself an Absol, so maybe that could even slow down his opponent just a bit more, too.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do see a switch in hand for Corey, so not going to be too detrimental, but still, Corey needs a lot to work with for next turn. We see a quick ball come down for Andrew. Discards the Vitality Band. Doesn't really need it, especially with that Metal Frying Pan on his own Zacian.
Yeah, I think Andrew's approach, this just give myself the most hit points possible or this damage reduction I can.
Cat's out of the bag. Mimikyu.
Yep.
Now it's like, all right, well, if you're going to attack, this is going to be a pretty big threat. Mimikyu able to deal with either Arceus Palkia or the Zacian V.
What's better, 1 attack doggo or 1 pink boy?
Probably 1 pink boy.
I agree.
And this is also the reason why Andrew plays the 3 copy of Energy Switch, being able to surprise a Mimikyu out of nowhere. Looking through for his options and decides to do that Ultimate Ray. Again, you would rather just take a knockout on the Dedenne and the Zacian. The Arceus Palkia is able to soak up a little bit, but this Shrine of Punishment is going to be sticking around.
Right. So maybe we don't see Arceus Palkia for the 4 prizes, but we certainly could see 3 prizes as just Shrine of Punishment slowly ticks away.
That's good enough.
It lines up perfectly with one of these GX Pokemon being knocked out for 3 prizes due to the GX attack from Arceus Palkia.
Debating where to put these last 2 energy. 1 for sure on the fully powered up Zacian now.
Give us a slap.
All right, pass of the turn. Now Corey really needs to figure out something to combat this onslaught of our board.
Yeah, this is truly terrifying. So many energies on the board. That GX marker is flipped for your opponent.
We do see Mallow and Lana in his hand, usually a card that was featured very heavily in these Arceus Palkia decks, but has kind of fallen by the wayside. Format's kind of moved away from small, like one prize attackers trying to take 2-hit knockouts. It's now a very much one-hit knockout game.
Yeah, Malolana was great in a field of Malamars, and we aren't seeing that very much unless you're one of the American players who's hoping and dreaming.
Tag Call gets just another ADP here, and it's just kind of thinning out your deck. Maybe even choose to discard it with something like a Malolana later on.
We will see the switch into Jirachi, maybe just hoping for a couple more pieces.
Professor's Research off these 5 cards will be the card of choice for Corey. Really just trying to dig down for more, but what does he really need to find here?
Yeah, I'm wondering, potentially Lysander Lab is one of the biggest cards for him here. He could work in a knockout on the active Pokemon and stop the Shrine of Punishment damage from injuring his ADP further.
Yeah, and he does play that one copy, something that we really haven't seen as much, a very popular card in previous formats.
Yep, with that Vitality Band on his Zacian V, he does have just enough damage if he were to get that Lysander Lab.
All right, well, let's see. These 7 cards are very important for the tempo of this game.
Not
Does
seeing
not look
it.
like it. And now with Corey only having access to 1 to Dene GX, the Quick Ball won't really be able to dig further here, although I think the Oranguru?
Hey!
Oh. All right, we got one more draw.
One shot. One opportunity. Back to the lab again.
Primate Wisdom really putting in a lot of work this weekend. Usually we see it comboed off with Smooth Over from Macargo, and it really just helps you conserve some resources too.
We'll see what he does choose to conserve.
All right, here we go.
Cynthia in.
Oh, hiding it from us.
Mystery out.
It is not it. Honestly, does he even have a way to retreat? I don't think so.
No, I'm not seeing that either. Actually found another Shrine of Punishment in his
no.
hand.
So I think there's a reset stamp and then custom catcher to draw 1 card again, but there's no way to retreat even.
Yeah, he would have to just go for the switch, but
oh, and
found another.
You already knew what the card was.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's where it went.
And again, he could have, even if he found a switching outlet, he could have been able to attack and then later on play the Lysander Lab and then just take the knockout, shutting off the Big Charm.
Right, which would have been a pretty great way to grab 3 prize cards. But then finding the other 3 is looking really, really abysmal.
All right, and there's the pass of the turn. Jirachi stays asleep. It doesn't want to see what's going to happen next turn.
Yeah, it's starting to look pretty frightening, even if Andrew does not find a Pokemon catcher and just takes this Jirachi as his 2 prizes for the turn. Shrine of Punishment is slowly chipping away at that Arceus Dalgapalkia. We could see that start to fall soon. It's already sitting at 210 damage?
Yeah, 210. It's going to be 220 with the Shrine of Punishments going back into the next turn.
So we're starting to look at like a 4-turn clock for that Pokemon with 280 hit points.
And here we go. Quick Ball discards the extra Arceus Dalgapalkia. Just thinning out that deck, trying to find one of those 2 Pokemon catchers that are in the deck and hopefully get a heads flip. And honestly, if that happens, this game is almost for sure over.
Oh yeah, this would be pretty great for Andrew.
Yeah, and there we see Corey's prizes. Andrew.
Oh, actually does have the Great Catcher lined up right now, so can
Oh.
target down, grab himself those 4 prizes he was desperately looking for earlier.
And this is pretty good too, because you just Ultimate Ray again and set up essentially checkmate on board.
Right, you'll have double Zacian set up, and you even have Mimikyu. You have just about every answer that you need to work through this. Found himself an Energy for the turn, also Energy Switch, so a lot of great cards. Just needs to start thinning out now to avoid Reset Stamp impacting him negatively.
Well, even then, Reset Stamp doesn't affect the board. The
That's
board,
true.
every Pokemon essentially is going to be able to attack.
Oh, don't need that shrine.
Tag Call again, just thinning out the resources. You just want to guarantee that, yeah, I'm pretty much going to have this.
Yeah, look at the rest of his deck. It's just energies, energy switches, and Pokemon catchers at this point.
It's a pretty good deck to have.
And some supporters to go with it, so Reset Stamp can't be too impactful.
And there we see the Ultimate Ray yet again. This is just a very oppressive board state from Andrew that he set up this game.
Yeah, when you get to this point of the game, you start to think, how many switches does Andrew have left? How many skateboards? Is there a strategy where I can maybe pull up his Absol, have my own Absol, and then just leave it in the active spot and deck him? Because you're running really low on other ways to win this game. Winning through attacks seems difficult, so maybe you can find a way to win through alternate methods.
All right, Metal
like slap.
Saucer. Again, maybe you just want to go out with some flair.
Yeah.
There's a Professor's Research, and Lysander's Lab was the next card. Granted, he did draw a card for the turn, so it was 3 down.
And just peeking his head out at just the wrong time. Does find double custom catchers, so if he does find something near for him, it could be pretty interesting. Just don't know if this is going to be...
He's just looking, it's like, yeah,
yeah, but what does this
I could
do?
bring up Absol. This is just desperation again, trying to play to your outs, but man, the outs are not looking good here. Opts not even to play it, takes the knockout, gets those 3 prizes, but that is just going to spell game over, and Andrew Tandianus is able to go to 9-2-1 and punch his ticket that much closer to top 8.
And I love the fact that he went ahead and did it with the Mimikyu instead of with the Zacian. Wanted to show off, hey man, I play this for a reason. And he is one spicy boy. He went in there, took this huge knockout, cleaning up the match for him. Big smile on his face as he continues to move forward in this tournament. Now 9-2-1, 3 matches in a row in day 2, running very hot.
Yeah, looking for one more match to get to 31, and then that might be enough. Maybe just take an ID as well. But man, Arceus Dog Palkia is putting in a lot of work, and you can even see it there. It's able to overcome the mirror match.
Yeah, and as for Corey, he still has those 2 other rounds that he can make up for that one falter that he just had there. Didn't go his way. He finally got to go first, started to Dene and attached and passed, so it was looking really scary for him. Continued to give his best effort, but just wasn't in the cards for him. Andrew does come out on top.
Yeah, it looks scary that entire game too, honestly.
Yeah, those are the games where you just stop playtesting because you're like, all right, we know how this is going to go, but you got to give it a shot when you're on the big stage, especially when you're just fighting for that. Probably, it was likely a one match point, just being as how long that game had taken and that you had already lost the first game. He's just pushing, trying to get anything out of this, and fortunately wasn't able to do that today.
Well, honestly, there's a lot of money on the line as well. Even if you don't make that top 8, the prizes still go down depending on if you make top 16, top 32. So every point matters.
Yeah, and especially when we're dealing with the championship point race, trying to get those Worlds invites locked up as well. Everything matters. So fighting to the best of your ability, trying to give everything you have, you got to keep on pushing.
Yeah, keep on pushing, and that is what Andrew did. Again, just 28 points now. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pull off a victory in these next 2 rounds.
Yeah, win an ID would obviously be most ideal for him. And just to get that nice breather, give yourself a little bit of time, and that gives you time to scope out what you're going to be facing in top 8 if you do end up getting there. And that's something that some of these players don't get to have. They'll be fighting that win and in spot in the 14th round. If you don't have to do that, if you get to take a nice breather and see exactly what the deck list is, maybe you had an idea of what your opponent was playing or like what style of deck it is, but maybe you're starting to get counts by looking at how these games are starting to go. That information is going to prove pretty successful.
Yeah, and especially when you see these decks being teched out so much, we see Andrew's list is actually very